How's that? You hear me and see me all right? All right. Wow, it's bright up here. It is good to be here, and I want to dedicate the story I'm telling today to all of those who show courage when it's hard to show courage. Speaking of World War II, my daddy was a prisoner of war in World War II for 11 months in a German camp. So, great story, Wayne and Jane. The water is wide, I cannot cross over, and neither have I wings to fly. Build me a boat that can carry two, and both shall row, my love and I. Long ago, in a village by the sea, there lived a sweet family of three. Clare, the only daughter of a poor fisherman and his wife. Now Clare loved her family, and she did all that she could to help them. Whenever her father was going out to sea to fish, she made a big pot of soup to send him on his way. Now in truth, it was just a watery broth, for they were very poor. But into that soup, she would stir her love, her strength, and her courage, and it would nourish his spirit. Now while he was away at sea fishing, Clare and her mother would worry, because they knew that the sea could be a treacherous place. And when he returned, they would celebrate. Clare would make another big pot of soup, and this time, if he had been successful, it would be full of thick chunks of fish, and it would nourish their bodies as well. Now as Clare grew, the people in that village thought her family most blessed to have a daughter so kind and strong and beautiful. Well, one day when Clare was nearly grown, her father went out to sea to fish as usual, but that afternoon a most unusual storm blew through that village such that they had never seen, and Clare's father did not return that evening, nor did he return the next day. They received word that his ship had been lost in that terrible storm, and he had drowned at sea. Clare and her mother were heartbroken. They grieved. And what's more, they didn't know what was to become of them. Well, the neighbors did what they could to help, but they were poor also. So soon, there was no food and no money. So Clare decided to do what her mother did not want her to do, what she herself was afraid to do, but courage doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you do what you are called to do, even when you're afraid. So Clare took the long journey, over an hour's walk, all by herself, to the nearest manor house, where she had heard they were hiring housemaids. The lady of the house saw Clare, took in her thin, shabby appearance, but saw something of strength about the girl, so she hired her. Now, as a housemaid, Clare was given a bed in the manor house. She could sleep there if she wanted, but she chose instead to make the long walk home every evening so she could spend the night with her mother. Now, along her way home, there was a huge, ancient oak tree. Well, 5 people standing around that tree would barely be able to touch hands. It was about halfway home, and so every day Clare would stop at this tree. She would throw her arms as far around the trunk as they would reach. She would rest her cheek on the bark, and she would say, "It's me, Clare, your friend." And she would tell her tree friend the story of her day. And when she was rested, she would make the rest of her journey home. Well, one day she was resting with her tree friend when a brisk wind blew through, and she heard, "Clare, the prince has ordered to have me cut down and made into a ship. But I will not move into the sea until you come as you do every day and throw your arms around me and say, it is me, Clare. Only then will I move into the sea. Clare didn't know what to think. She knew that trees held great magic, as she'd been taught that her whole life, but she'd never had one speak to her before. So she made her way home, wondering and wondering about what had happened. Well, that night she had trouble sleeping. She tossed and turned. When she finally did sleep, she had a terrible dream. She dreamed that her tree friend had been cut down. So you can imagine she was eager to get there the next day to see, and so delighted to see the tree standing tall and beautiful as ever. She threw her arms around the trunk as far as they would reach. She rested her cheek on the bark and she said, it's me, Clare, your friend, and I had a terrible dream. And she told her tree friend all about it. And when she was comforted and rested, she made the rest of her journey. Well, weeks passed, and one day Clare was again making her way home when a terrible rainstorm blew in. She was rushing to get to the shelter of her tree, but when she arrived, it was gone. Her tree. It was true. It had all been true. She fell to her knees in the mud, and her tears mingled with the rain. Well, many weeks passed after that. Finally, one day, the prince issued an invitation to all the people of the land to come see his new ship christened and set sail for the first time. Clare and her mother went. Everyone went. As they drew close, Clare could hear the men trying to get the ship into the sea, and her heart beat fast with the secret that it held. As they drew closer, Clare could see the men pushing and pulling, and now they were calling to the audience. They were calling to the crowd, "Come, men, help us get the ship into the sea." And Clare's heart beat faster with the secret that it held. But Clare was afraid. She was just a young wisp of a woman amidst this great crowd. But courage doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you do what you are called to do, even when you're afraid. I would like to try. And the crowd parted at her words. When those men saw her, "Oh yeah, lass, let's see you have a go." And so Clare walked up amidst their laughter and their jeers and their mocking. She threw her arms around the bow of that ship. She rested her cheek on the plank and she said, "It's me, Clare, your friend." The ship slipped into the sea. Now those men stood there with their jaws on the ground. The prince aboard his ship had not seen the woman who came forward, so he asked for her to be brought aboard. He was expecting a big, burly, possibly hairy woman. So imagine his surprise when he saw the beautiful young wisp of a woman standing before him. "Who are you? And how have you come to move my ship into the sea?" "My name is Clare, and you see, the tree that you cut down to make your ship was once my friend, and so it was friendship that moved your ship into the sea." And as their eyes met, as these stories go, the prince fell instantly in love. And as Clare looked at the prince, she saw something of the strength and kindness of her tree friend. And as these stories go, she fell instantly in love. Now the prince, he bent on a knee before Clare and took her hands in his. I would have such a courageous friend to be my wife. And I would have someone strong and kind enough to recognize a courageous friend to be my husband. Now a great cheer went up amongst the crowd, especially from Clare's mother. And they clapped her on the back, for now they knew that Clare and her mother, well, they would be well cared for. And as for Clare and her prince, they found that with courage and friendship and strength and kindness aboard their ship, there was no water too wide for them to cross. The water is wide, I cannot cross over, and neither have I wings to fly. Build me a boat that can carry two, and both shall know my love and I. Wishing you courage as you sail through your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.